This is the relaunch of the iLead podcast. This time, I'm not just talking about systems and strategies. I'm braiding in the soul side of my work, Misty Blue. Together, this is where strategy meets soul. I'm Misty Green, a runaway at 14, a high school dropout, a preacher's daughter, and a teen mom. By all accounts, I shouldn't be here, but I am, because I am a comeback kid. This podcast is for every student, every leader, every parent, and every person who has ever stumbled and wondered if they could rise again. I'm here to tell you, you can. Because if God could carry me, He can carry you too. At different points in my career, I've been asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? For a long time, I found that question both frustrating and fascinating. People wanted my destination, but rarely cared about my journey. The grit, the grace, and the mistakes, and even the miracles that brought me here. 2 years ago, I founded iLead. At the time, I never imagined I'd be relaunching this podcast. Not only continuing the iLead story, but now braiding in Misty Blue. That alone is proof you don't always know where the next 5 years will take you. And when I'm asked that question again, my answer is going to be this. In 5 years, yes, I want my resume to reflect growth, more skills, more experiences, more accomplishments, but equally, I want my reputation to reflect that same level of growth because resume may get me to the table, but it's the reputation that's going to keep me there. And that is why this podcast exists, to braid together strategy and soul, iLead and Misty Blue, so that together we can build both the resume and the reputation that matter. I grew up a preacher's daughter. And from an early age, I learned to discern the difference between appearance and intent. The polished words of people in pews versus the truth of how they lived. See, at 14, I ran. No phone, no GPS, and no plan. Just far more fight than fear. I slept in laundromats that never locked, on church buses that were left unsecured, in bar ditches off country roads, and in buildings half gutted and waiting for renovation. Sometimes I leaned on even the kindness of strangers who absolutely owed me nothing. Other times, the kindness of friends who made space when they didn't have to. And in that rawness, I discovered something sacred. I discovered honesty. See, in church, people often look polished, like they had it all together. But on the streets, people lived out loud. And I found truth there because sometimes honesty tells the story in a way that polish never can. There were risky moments. I made choices I wouldn't want my own children to make. But I also saw the kind of compassion that doesn't come with strings. Strangers and friends who gave without expecting anything. Couches, meals, rides, a place to breathe. People who owed me nothing and showed me everything. I saw more grace in those streets than I ever did in pews. A former principal once looked at me square in the face and said, "Green, you are proof that God protects babies and fools." I laughed deep and out loud and said, "You got that right because I've been both, separately and simultaneously." My mom prayed Psalms 91 and 11 over me for years. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. I didn't understand it then, but looking back now, I know those prayers carried me through nights I should not have survived. Later, I even crossed the Mexico border, pretending to be far older than I was with the fake ID, thinking I had control when really I was just a kid trying to survive. 4 years later, I returned home permanently. I was pregnant and behind in school. People expected me to fail. I'm certain they even scoffed at me. But my son gave me a reason to fight forward. With my parents' support, I earned my diploma, step by shaky step. That paper wasn't an ending, it was a doorway. I went on to college at SMU, baby on my hip and backpack on my shoulders. Then came the graduate degree. It wasn't quick, nor was it easy, but it was faithful, one stubborn step at a time. When I look back, I don't see someone who had it all together. What I see is someone with grit, someone with fight, someone preserved by grace. Because here's the truth. God protected me from things I didn't even know to be afraid of. That's the interesting part of my story. See, that border crossing could have gone completely wrong. The strangers I trusted could have harmed me. I mean, that's the reality of my story. The hunger could have pushed me toward choices I could never take back. But I was carried. I was covered. I was preserved for more. And not just by God's protection, but by the divine relationships and connections where kindness of friends who let me crash on their couches, who shared meals when they didn't have to, and who stood beside me when no one else did. That's why I can't stay quiet about resilience, about grit, about faith, because I know what it feels like to be the one seemingly who has no place to go and nowhere to fit in, the one no one expects to make it. And I also know what it feels like to look back and realize God had me the whole time. My story isn't just about leaving. It's also about returning. It's about resilience. I became a child care center director, then a teacher in Title I schools in the middle of the inner city, then an administrator, district leader, and consultant. I've built systems from the ground up, coached people towards success, and sat at tables with the most influential education leaders, while still staying and remaining grounded in who I am, my purpose, my roots. And that's why my work now has two names, but one mission. iLead is the strategy encompassing professional growth and coaching, instructional systems and models, and organizational transformation. That's the heart of iLead. But Misty Blue is the soul, faith, resilience, parent advocacy, and personal coaching that meets people exactly where they are. Together, they're braided into one mission to help people lead well and live well. My story is proof, but it's not just about me. It's about you. Because here's the truth. Students can be comeback kids. Parents can be comeback kids. Educators and teams can be comeback kids. Companies and cultures can be comeback kids. Failing schools and failing churches, policy heavy and compassion light, can be comeback kids. And you can be a comeback kid. Deuteronomy 30:3 says, God, your God, will restore every single thing you lost. He'll have compassion on you. He'll come back and pick up the pieces from all the places where you were scattered. That scripture has become so real to me. I was scattered. I have been scattered, but God came back for me. He restored what I thought I had forfeited. And if you have the stamina, if you want it bad enough, if you trust God in the dark, in the wilderness, you too can be a comeback kid. Because resilience isn't about never failing. It's about refusing to stay down. It's about knowing your life has purpose, even when the path is messy. I shouldn't be here, but I am. And if He could carry me, He can carry you too. So if you're listening and think your mistakes define you, hear me. They do not. The same God who commanded His angels to guard me, the same God who picked up my scattered pieces, that God, He sees you too. Your story isn't over. You can be a comeback kid because grit will shape you. Grace will carry you. And God will finish what He started in you. This podcast braids together strategy and soul. Some episodes will feel like professional coaching. Some will feel like a hand on your shoulder. More of my story is coming. More strategy is coming. More echoes of faith, grit, and resilience are on their way. I'm Misty Green. This is I Lead and Misty Blue.